Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Garden a Little. Thank you so much for coming back, or if you're new here, welcome. I want to do a quick garden tour today because it has been raining for a few days straight and we have some big growth spurs. Where should we start? Of course, the tomato bed. So solar flare tomatoes have been my family's favorite, so I grew quite a bit of solar flares. So at least half of these are solar flares actually. My tomatoes are doing very well, putting on some fruit, but there's a little more interesting things to see here. If you are new at growing tomatoes, you might find out that there are moths that lay eggs in your tomatoes, then they develop caterpillars called hornworms. Those hornworms can decimate your plant in a day, like the fruit, the leaves, everything, just kill it. However, if you're gardening organically, you're not spraying anything, yes, there is a risk. However, I tell you, let me show you. And here is a hornworm, but what are those white things? Well, let me tell you, this hornworm was about to eat my whole entire plant, but there is a wasp somewhere that came over here and laid its eggs on the hornworm. It sucked the life out of the hornworm, and there you go. So the point is, nature can sometimes take care of itself. Most of the hornworms that are on here are eaten by birds. The rest are eaten by the wasp's eggs, and then the rest I kind of pick them off. But as you can see, we have some beautiful fruit forming in the background. Also, my peppers are doing really good too. I didn't really know the varieties that I planted here, but now that they are fruiting, I can see that this one is a bell pepper. Here we have another bell pepper. There we have some albino peppers and some buena mulatas here as well. There's a baby nasturtium growing here. It's going to be very pretty as it bushes out and grows over. But look at these fruits, some gorgeous looking fruit of tomatoes. I believe this is blue bosque bumblebee tomatoes. Here are some, I forget what these are called, and solar flares, of course, solar flares. Aren't those sunflowers just gorgeous? And they are very tall. Let me show you. Hold on. Let me see if I can even reach it. This is how high they are. That's really crazy. At least 12 feet tall, I want to say. Very high. Well, moving on to my brassica bed. My broccolis are doing very well. So I cut off the main broccoli head and then it's shot all kinds of side shoots. And look, these are gorgeous looking little broccolis after I cut down the main stalk. So I'm going to be harvesting these as well. Same thing with this broccoli. Same thing kind of happened here. So gorgeous broccolis, very pleased with them. However, last time I showed you that I had purple cauliflower. Check out my last video if you want to see it. Sad news though. After putting the cauliflower into its like natural shade cloth, I discovered that it didn't really provide any shade per se. The cauliflower still kind of bolted and the caterpillars went nuts at it. I shot a little clip of it on my TikTok. I'm gonna insert it here. They said to cover your cauliflower when it gets hot. I did exactly just that, but I want to see what's going on under there. I'm not doing that again. Looks like I just provided shelter for the pests. Basically why I said that it was a cover for the pests, because there was so much caterpillar poo inside of it. It was just kind of insane. So I harvested what I had and gave the rest to the chickens and cut this baby down. However, we have some white cauliflower forming, and then I think that provided a lot more space, sun exposure to my Brussels sprouts, so hopefully I can actually have Brussels sprout harvest. My Brussels sprouts are not doing much, so I'm hoping that this sun exposure kind of gives them that growth spur. But overall, my brassica bed is doing really well. Moving on to my eggplant bed. My eggplants have shot up after I removed this pea trellis. They are doing really well, finally forming some flower buds. They're doing fantastic. I'm super happy. This dahlia is finally growing. I wonder if I'll get flowers this year. But this sunflower is doing really well too. Have not opened yet. And then my cucumbers are actually coming up. So this is going to be very nice because once those cucumbers die, I believe these ones will be ready to produce some fruit. So that would be an exciting succession planning kind of thing. And once these go, I want to plant peas over there so I have some fresh sweet peas growing into the cooler months. But here I have finally some cucumbers forming. It is so exciting. It's been a long time coming. Nothing else is kind of coming up, just these cucumbers that I saw right here. The beans are doing fantastic. So I learned that pole beans will continue climbing like that, right? However, bush beans, they did climb. Remember I showed you they did start to climb, but it's not actually climbing. It's just a runner that pole beans send. And then they actually just bush out like normal bush beans. So I take that info back. And then besides my pole beans, it's actually nasturtiums that are doing super well. I am so happy that I planted flowers again in my garden. Here I have some marigolds. Marigolds are great. I actually learned that you can harvest marigolds and put them in your chicken coop, and that deters flies. I also do that with my oregano and a whole bunch of herbs too. Apparently flies don't really like herbs. So I've been putting things into my chicken coop to deter flies or any kind of pests. So I'll be doing that with marigolds as well. And then I had a few additions to my herb bed here. So dill is doing fantastic. Look at that. It actually started flowering and I pinched off those flowers, as you can see, because I wanted it to encourage to grow even more because I absolutely love dill. Whatever we don't eat this season, I'm gonna collect and dry. And then my parsley, I've collected so much parsley already, like you saw in my last video, and it's just keeping it going. It's just non-stop. It smells amazing. Then I have some native plants to Ohio. They like shady areas, and I just planted this honestly for pollinators. So I'm not exactly sure what it's called. And then my basil is finally starting to come up and be a little bushy. So that's amazing. I actually need to start pinching these off so they bush out a little bit like that. Boom. And so instead of one stalk that was coming up, it's going to have two stalks coming up. And then instead of two, it's going to be four, and so on and so forth. And then I actually started some rosemary. This was from starts. Every single time I try to start it from seed, it just didn't work. Rosemary and thyme. Now I know thyme is also the same story as oregano. It just kind of goes crazy. But I figured if I can tame oregano a little bit, like it didn't go crazy anywhere this year, I can do the same with thyme, just kind of keep trimming it back. And even though I don't have space for oregano, I put it again in the chicken coop and it just either gets eaten or the bugs just stay away. So I'm gonna do the same thing with thyme. Now here's a tomato that I didn't want to throw away and it is doing absolutely fantastic. Look at that. Amazing. And then there's that second tomato also that I didn't have the heart to rip out, also doing amazing. My peppers over here I think are doing the best out of all the peppers. And these were the leftover peppers that I just stuck. So I'm so glad that I didn't throw these away. We got some albino peppers growing over here. They're doing really good. And then buena mulata peppers are flowering over here, bushing out. So that's amazing. My lettuce over here, I'm letting it go to seed. I'm gonna collect the seeds for next year. This variety and this variety and this variety. So it's all gonna go to seed, and I'm gonna collect most of the seeds. And then same thing with spinach. I'm waiting for this to go to seed as well. I've been collecting kale, dehydrating it, or eating it fresh in my salads. Kale has not bolted yet, so that's amazing, and it still tastes really good because it's right underneath the awning. Provides adequate shade so it doesn't bolt. Then moving on to my corn bed. Look at that, guys. My corn is doing fantastic. Every single corn plant has tassels, so that's really amazing. Look at those ears. I think I counted maybe 8 ears altogether. So that's exciting. This is my first time growing corn, and I hope that they get adequate pollinated because I have tassels and ears at the same time, so I'm hoping for the best. Zucchini is doing amazing. I already harvested some. Here's more growing. Let's see. More growing over there. Also, I have these squash that are kind of vining all around the corn over there, which is what I wanted because I didn't want to put stakes in here, and it's just kind of vining around, and it's finally starting to produce some female flowers. And then I have these melons. I think these are cantaloupes. I have not found any female blooms though, so I guess we'll just let it go and do its own thing. So it's just like a kind of a jungle, but it's beautiful jungle. And these are also native plants. These are gonna be purple flowers, and bees absolutely go nuts for these. I think these are just taking their time because of shade, but they are ready to start blooming here. It is again starting to rain, so I'm going to wrap it up. But before I do, let me show you the progress on my last bed where my onions used to grow. So as you know, I've left a couple of onions to bolt to go to seed, but I don't know if that's going to happen because they are falling over there, the same kind of story as you can see. So I'm not sure if I'll get any seed from these onions. I really hope I do, but we'll see what happens. This is the only one that has not fallen over, so we'll see. We'll see what exactly happens. But my corn is finally starting to come up in this bed. Then I have some tomatoes that I didn't have the heart to throw away. We'll see what happens. Most of it is shaded though because of this ginormous sunflower here that I did not plant, but it come up and it is just absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. I'm definitely saving seeds for the sunflower, but probably planting it outside of my garden because this is a little too much of just nutrients sucking out of my soil, which is so precious to me and so needed for food. However, I do love beauty. I do love beauty in my garden. My chickens have been enjoying all the garden scraps. Look at them. They're just enjoying their life. We got a little tarp for them over there and some roosting area. And it's just glad to see that they're safe and not miserable. Well, all right, guys, it's really starting to calm down, and I'm so glad for it. I'm so glad that you guys are sticking around. Thank you so much for all your support, for subscribing, for commenting. I just really love sharing this passion of mine with you guys. Thank you again so much for sticking around, and I hope I'll see you next time on Garden a Little. Bye.